The storm had not been in the forecast. At least, not the kind that swallowed roads, snapped branches, and forced strangers to take shelter together in a place neither of them had planned to be. But fate, as it often did, had its own ideas, especially when it came to people who were never supposed to cross paths. Ethan Hale tightened his grip on the steering wheel as the wind howled like a living creature, pushing against the truck. His daughter, Lily, sat bundled in her oversized pink jacket, her boots barely visible from under the blanket wrapped around her legs. She was shivering, though she tried not to show it. She always tried to be strong for him. "Daddy, is the storm mad at us?" she asked quietly. "Storms don't get mad, sweetheart," Ethan answered, though he wasn't entirely sure this one agreed. "We just need to find a place to wait it out. We'll be okay." But the snow thickened, turning the world outside into a white void. The GPS had stopped working miles back, and the signal bars on his phone were gone. Ethan's jaw tensed as he leaned forward, scanning desperately through the white curtain. That's when Lily pointed toward a faint line of darkness ahead. "Daddy, look, a house. More like a cabin, half buried under snow, but still standing against the wind." Relief washed over Ethan as he pulled off the icy road and parked. He lifted Lily into his arms, shielding her from the cold as they ran through the storm toward the cabin door. When he knocked, the door swung open instantly, as if someone had been waiting behind it. A woman stood there, wrapped in a black coat that looked far too expensive for this wilderness. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders, her cheeks flushed from the cold, her breaths quick. You're not the generator guy," she said, blinking in confusion. "No," Ethan replied, out of breath. "We got caught in the storm. My daughter's freezing. Please, can we wait here until it passes?" The woman hesitated only a second before stepping aside. "Of course. Get inside." Warmth hit them immediately, radiating from a crackling fireplace. Lily clung to Ethan as he set her down near the hearth. The woman crouched beside her. "Hi there, I'm Ava." "I'm Lily," she said shyly. Ethan watched Ava for a moment as she checked Lily's fingers and nose for frostbite, her expression unexpectedly gentle. Not what he'd assumed when he first saw the sharp, polished look she carried, like someone used to commanding rooms instead of crouching beside fireplaces. Ava stood and straightened her coat. "I wasn't expecting company. The power's been flickering. Roads are already closed. Looks like we're stuck here for a while." "Sorry," Ethan said. "I didn't want to intrude." She shrugged lightly. "You didn't have a choice." Only when she pulled off her gloves did Ethan notice the expensive watch on her wrist, the diamond-studded bracelet, the manicured nails. Whoever she wasn't used to places like this. "You traveling alone?" he asked cautiously. Ava hesitated before answering. "Yes, I needed a break from the city." Lily perked up. "Which city?" "New York." Ethan raised a brow, impressed. "Long way from home." Ava said nothing to that. She walked to the kitchen, filled a kettle, and set it on the stove. But Ethan noticed how her hand trembled as she lit the burner. Something about her wasn't adding up. As the snow piled higher outside, the cabin walls creaked under the pressure of the wind. "Storm's getting worse," Ethan murmured, peeking through the frosted window. "It is." Ava's tone was crisp, but her eyes were clouded with worry. "The radio said the power grid might go out completely." "Don't worry," Lily said sweetly. "Daddy knows how to fix stuff. He fixes everything." Ethan chuckled. Softly. "I do what I can." Ava looked at him more closely now, as if suddenly seeing him. His worn jacket, still dusted with snow. His rough hands. The tired determination in his eyes. "What do you do?" she asked. "I'm a mechanic." Something flickered across her face. Surprise. Maybe even relief. But she masked it quickly. The storm raged on. They spent the next hour playing cards with Lily, warming canned soup by the fire, and listening to the wind scream outside. The more Ava relaxed, the more Ethan noticed her exhaustion, like she'd been running long before the storm caught her. When Lily finally fell asleep on the couch, Ethan draped his jacket over her. Ava watched quietly. "She's adorable," Ava whispered. "She's everything," Ethan replied, his voice softer than he intended. A silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, but strangely charged. Ava tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I wasn't supposed to be here alone. I was supposed to meet someone, business-related. But I told my driver to leave me at the bottom of the trail. I needed to think. I needed space." "From what?" She looked away. "The world, I guess." Ethan didn't push. He wasn't the type to pry. Later, when the power finally flickered once, twice, then died completely, Ava exhaled sharply. "Great," she muttered. Just great. Ethan grabbed the lantern hanging by the door and lit it. The warm glow filled the room. You okay? He asked. Ava nodded, but the shiver in her shoulders betrayed her. The temperature was dropping fast. Ethan checked the firewood pile. We've only got enough wood for a few hours. After that, it's going to get really cold. Ava rubbed her arms. I didn't think it would be this bad. Storms don't care what we expect, Ethan said simply. The wind slammed against the cabin, making the walls tremble. Lily stirred on the couch, pulling Ethan's jacket closer to her. Ava watched the little girl, then slowly looked back at Ethan. Can I ask you something? She whispered. Sure. Her eyes held something fragile. Vulnerable. Something she clearly wasn't used to showing. Do you mind if I sit closer to the fire with you? It's freezing. Of course not. They settled on the floor near the hearth, sitting close enough that their shoulders brushed now and then. The storm howled louder, shaking the cabin as though trying to tear it apart. Minutes passed in silence, until another sharp gust rattled the windows. Ava flinched. Ethan noticed her trembling again. Not just from the cold. Something deeper. You're shivering, he murmured. I'm fine, she whispered, though she clearly wasn't. Her lips were beginning to turn pale from the dropping temperature. Another hour passed. The firewood grew dangerously low. Ava pulled her knees to her chest, teeth chattering. I didn't think the temperature would drop this fast. It's going to get colder, Ethan admitted. Storm's nowhere near done. Ava hesitated, then exhaled shakily. Ethan, yeah, she didn't look at him at first. She stared at the flickering fire. At the snow blowing in waves outside the window. At the little girl asleep under his jacket. Then finally, she met his eyes. Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. Can I slip under your blanket? The words hung in the air, soft but charged, not with flirtation, but with fear and raw honesty. Ethan blinked, surprised. Ava swallowed hard. I'm freezing. I know it's a strange thing to ask, but I don't want to get sick out here. He studied her shaking hands, the desperate vulnerability she couldn't hide anymore. Of course, he said gently. Come here. He opened the thick wool blanket draped over his shoulders, and Ava scooted closer, slowly, cautiously, until she was sitting pressed against him. Her head rested lightly against his chest. She inhaled sharply as the warmth surrounded her. Thank you, she whispered. Ethan didn't move. He didn't want her to think he was taking this the wrong way. But Ava shifted just a little closer anyway. Her breath was warm against his neck when she spoke again, softer this time, almost unsteady. I know you don't know me. But right now, you feel like the safest person I've been around in a long time. Ethan's eyes softened. You're safe here, Ava. I promise. Outside, the storm roared on. Inside the tiny cabin, two strangers, one running from something, the other simply trying to survive, found themselves bound together by warmth, danger, and a moment neither of them saw coming. And as Ava leaned into him, trusting him with a trembling vulnerability she'd never allowed anyone else, Ethan felt something shift, something he couldn't quite name, but couldn't ignore either. The storm had trapped them. But something else, something unexpected, had just begun.